Hello writers, and welcome to another episode of Writing Today. In this episode we're going to be discussing Cyberpunk, a subgenre of science fiction that has grown in popularity of late. As always, if you wish to read this article you can find it on my website, thepenssleuth.com. If you wish to support the channel, please consider becoming a Patreon at patreon.com/thepenssleuth. Every dollar helps to make more regular and improved content, and all help is appreciated. Without further ado, let's jump straight into the Cyberpunk podcast. As a writer who is interested in the genre, I was left curious on how to write an investing cyberpunk novel. Having experience in science fiction, I did further research into cyberpunk and have collected some golden advice and guidelines to help you write your cyberpunk novel. Let's get into it. The first point we need to discuss is the overly high-end technology. Cyberpunk is a subgenre of science fiction set in a far future. The future, as in most science fiction, is filled with advanced technology. Amazing cars, brilliant healthcare, holograms, and more. In the cyberpunk genre, this is even more so. The technology is taken to a terrifying level. In doing so, the technology feels like it violates more human aspects of life. One thing you can count on in a cyberpunk world is that there are more people interested in technological development than human development. On a personal note, I love that kind of writing. Taking some things a bit further certainly creates an ambiance that is unique and makes for an enjoyable read. After all, being imaginative is the core of fiction writing, so developing technology that stretches the reader's perception of the future is a fantastic aspect of the cyberpunk genre. The second point we need to discuss about cyberpunk is it's dystopian. There's no doubt about it, cyberpunk is certainly the darker side of science fiction. With that in mind, the idea of there being a chance of utopia is still there. However, that is something that has yet to come into fruition. Instead, the characters and the world as a whole is firmly set in difficult times. There will be tragedies, terroristic acts, difficult lifestyles, and so on. Great dystopias are ruled by politicians fueled by selfish acts and power, or even overwhelming organizations that have taken the world by storm. On top of that, it also has the stereotypical dystopian qualities. Dystopias are filled with frightening and undesirable qualities. Cyberpunk certainly fits dystopia, so it makes great use of technology to terrify the reader. What about a dark future appeals to you as a writer? 1984 by George Orwell is a cult classic in the dystopian genre, in painting a future ruled by an almost unreal, threatening leader. However, there's always that hint that the dystopia is a real possibility. Types of society that restrict and repress the average person are interesting to writers because it is massive amounts of conflict bundled up. As all writers know, conflict makes for a great story. The third part, and no doubt the part you're looking forward to most, is AI, robots, and cybernetics. Technology is an obsession in the cyberpunk genre. It begins to stretch further, touching technology that is being developed today and taking it to a scary extent. In the subgenre of science fiction, cyberpunk tries to present philosophical questions through AI, artificial intelligence. Should AI be respected like natural life? That is a question cyberpunk books, movies, and other media present to the reader, viewer, etc. Taking that further, robots are starting to become more present, taken to the extent where they become less clunky and thus more threatening in this dark dystopia. Robots are difficult to write for most authors, but if presented properly, it can even become the core feature of a cyberpunk story. After all, there are many great examples of robot-based plots. Finally, cybernetics. Cybernetics involve a synthetic augmentation to a human. It can be anything from replacing a limb with some advanced technology to implanting special technology within the body that makes life simply easier, such as a chip implant that alters your mind to understand a language you never learned. Of course, you can get more military augmentations that help make people more efficient killers, which is highly necessary in most cyberpunk stories. However, being a dystopia, things are usually taken to a shocking extent. The cybernetics can be overwhelming or crude, the robots can be threatening and violent, the AI can be heartbreaking or just creepy. Cyberpunk does well in evoking emotions when it comes to these features of science fiction. The fourth point we need to discuss is the techno underworld. Now we're going to establish one of the most important features of Cyberpunk, the dark, seedy underworld. In the Cyberpunk genre, the low life of the city is well established. Crime is ever present and it threatens the common people every day. Nobody escapes unaffected, either negatively or positively. With that in mind, how does that make Cyberpunk unique? Cyberpunk takes the underworld to a new level. With the advanced technology, there are still some aspects of the criminal world that remain. The lust for power and money will continue to persist. However, that means your character has to encounter or be a key part of the criminal underworld. Either an average person threatened or protected by the underworld, helped or hindered. With that, you will need to consider the many aspects of crime. We have read it in detective novels such as Sherlock Holmes, or from a different perspective, in The Godfather. All these novels have a place in Cyberpunk as they make use of the criminal underworld. So, if you wish to present crime in a different setting, Cyberpunk is a great genre to consider. Point number 5. The corruption and the revolution. Now we have discussed everything from technology-obsessed citizens to the criminal underworld, but we need to now examine the bigger picture in the Cyberpunk genre. The world is being ruled by a cruel government or shady organization. With capitalistic and corrupt society so present, it is usually the latter, with a corrupt and powerful company being the evil overbearing figure in the novel. However, Cyberpunk is a dystopia, so the world will be beaten down, but there are people who will fight back. The revolution, a group of rebels against the cruel world that has come into development and will die trying to save it. These factions, groups in society geared towards their own major goals will conflict or work with each other in order to achieve their end goals. Sometimes unlikely alliances will be formed. Be sure to remember that this is only the bigger picture, an aspect of the world you don't need to include so prevalently. Most writers will make nods towards the part of the genre, but would rather follow other characters and their goals than that of the bigger picture. On a personal note, for a more conclusive ending to a dystopia, it is best to follow the revolution. Decide whether they will free the world from the overpowering repressive force, or be destroyed so the dystopia may continue. That concludes this list of advice and guidelines that will help you write a cyberpunk novel or script. I hope you enjoyed and found it helpful. With that, I'd like to thank you for listening all the way through. As always, if you want to read this article, you can find it on my website, thepenssleuth.com, as well as access some of the free giveaways that I have for anyone joining the writers group. If you wish to support this channel, please be sure to visit my page at patreon.com/thepenssleuth. Every dollar helps me make more regular and improved content, and all help is appreciated. With that, good day, good night, and I'll see you in the next episode of Writing Today. Bye for now.